you can find a YouTube video, you can send it out to your team, and you can ask them to watch it and then get them to report on what they saw. You can give them parameters on what you want them to try and visualize, whether it's a power play unit. Now, one of the big things at the NHL level that I've been dealing with a lot through the teams and the media, the local media streams and so on, is this power play bumper position. The player who gets the bumper position, who's the hover kind of player that gets into the middle, tries to find the open spot. And it's so, to me, it gets kind of frustrating where they're trying to do set plays based on tendencies of players. So I think that if by you guys suggesting to what these players can do, your players, or what your team can do, it's going to open up their minds to things that they see in a visual video, which is a great suggestion. So that's a good suggestion on getting players to focus on what other players are doing. However, you don't want someone to come to you and say, hey, I want to be Ovi. I want to shoot like Ovi. I want to shoot like Stamkos. I want to shoot like so-and-so. We're trying to get them to shoot like them and have other people want to be them. So we want to encourage them to, sometimes as coaches, you'll say, hey, I want you to make your game and play the same style as Brendan Gallagher. I want you to stand in front of the net and be Brendan Gallagher, because that's what he's the best at, in front of the net, and that's what people say. So I would suggest, try and say that you have belief and trust in the things that they can do, and suggest that they work on that, and even do it at home during these times. So it's really good suggestions here. Brandon Saunders is saying, check this one out, guys. Brandon Saunders saying, take advantage of the online content as a student of the game. For example, challenges and off-ice workouts posted by hockey influencers, in addition to doing team influence. Wow, Saunders, that's a great suggestion. One of the things that sticks out in my mind when it comes to off-ice workouts, have a purpose there. Like so many players that work out in the gym, in my opinion, they do it as a routine. They know they have to do it. I got to stay quick, strong, and I got to work on my agility, my reaction time, and I have to do yoga for flexibility, and I have to do some mindfulness stuff, because you know what? Because everyone I know is doing it. Instead of, when you do it, understand it that it can only benefit them or us or you as a player or a coach, in understanding, hey, what I do here when I jump on the ice, no matter how long it's been since I've been on the ice, what I do here, if I'm registering what I'm doing, if I'm passionate about it, instead of just doing it as a routine, it's gonna transition, and it's gonna make improvements to your movement patterns, the power output, the speed you do things, and the confidence level and comfort of applying what you did off ice onto ice. Those are the messages that we got to get out there. And it's funny, like I'd be one to admit that, hey, I could have used COVID as an excuse to lose a lot of weight, or I could have put a lot on. You guys decide what you think I did. There's no excuse for a COVID situation for players to say, or for coaches to say, wow, this is a great opportunity now for us to work on this off-ice component, this strategy component, my recruiting, which I can hardly do now, using COVID as an excuse to add ammunition to what you're doing as coaching. We don't want to use it as an excuse. We want to have the ability to schedule the time to say, hey, I need a skills coach because I can't teach stick handling, so we're going to allocate a Zoom session to the person A, B, and C, whether it's shooting, skating, puck control, or thought processes, mindfulness, things to do, or team building for that matter. You know, building your team and having ideas is really important. I think, what do we got here? Peaser, what are you saying? We'll get skills coaches to send video and feedback, communicate and interact with them. Well said, Marson. Well said. Get skill coaches, send video, get feedback. So video analysis is critical. Good idea there. And the one thing I know, I can attest, I've worked with Marson firsthand on the ice with high level NHL prospects and NHL players, and his ability to, and I'm not tooting anyone's horn. I don't tell people what they want to hear. I didn't get to the level where I'm at to telling people what they want to hear. This is what's need to be said, and you guys can take the information the way you want to, but having the ability to recognize what a player needs individually, if you can separate that as a teacher or development or skills coach, and if you can be a coach and still think you can teach skills, having the ability to separate when to do it, hit the switch on the skill teaching, and then everyone understands if you're a coach and you're a bench coach, whether you're a boss, an assistant or associate, if players can recognize and they can understand that you can separate the switch from coaching to teaching, then you are well on your way. It's a very difficult and challenging thing to do that. If you decide to do that, I would highly recommend introducing yourself new every time you talk to your players. You're talking to the shooting coach right now. I know I'm your coach, but I'm going to show you a few things that I've learned from X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to instill that in you because I know that I have to ask you to do things that's different from just learning skills, if that makes sense. You know, a few others, a bunch of messages here, guys. So if I'm going back and forth and I'm talking too fast and someone wants to say something, put up your hand and do this and we'll get you going here. So Brixie here is saying, Scott Brix is saying, basically all the feedback through your network will be the best way to recruit players. I'm not actively recruiting, but that's how I would approach it. So did you hear that, Pritch? He's saying the feedback through your network, yeah, best way to recruit players. See, but building that network is well, it's difficult, you know, very difficult. So I apologize for people that I'm missing here in the waiting room and so on. I'm trying to get to you all here, so don't get mad at me. We're taping this. We'll get it out to you. Yeah.
And again, Tim, I'll just add to your comment right there. That's pretty much the typical NCAA model, right? When it comes to recruiting, right? It's all about context, all about connection. They just, you know, I know, you know, firsthand Michigan and Michigan State. I mean, Michigan, yeah, and Michigan State too. But I know Michigan firsthand. They have a board, and they go right away to, like, I'm talking 2010s, you know, year birth, and be like, okay, this guy's on my radar for like the next 5 years. And it's not because they watched them. It's not because they went to see them. It's just, okay, I need a left winger that is a power forward for my second unit, my second line. Hey, let's call up this guy that I know pretty well. He knows his stuff in Toronto, in Montreal, in Saskatchewan, or whatever you want to call it. And they'll tell you, okay, I have so-and-so, keep this guy on the radar. But that's how it works. That's pretty much an NCAA level how it works, right?
Absolutely. You know, so that recruiting process, you know, it's funny you say that, Mars, because I'm always constantly suggesting to players, you know, one of the half serious things I say when I'm dealing with players is number one, I always send a message that, you know, doesn't matter where you are or what you're doing, doesn't matter if you're in a civilian situation socially, or you're on the ice competing for a spot, or you're practicing and trying to perform. Someone's watching you at all times. Someone's watching you at all times. So if you aspire as a player, and it doesn't matter if you're 9 years old, 19, or 29, you know, it just changes the aspect of if you're aspiring to be a player or a professional one or live out your dreams. The two messages I send are, number one, act like one now. Like when the coach blows the whistle, how crazy would it be if you as a coach, you're done a drill, you blow your whistle, and every player's in your grill within 10 seconds. Like they don't shoot a puck. They don't, it's just, pros don't do that at any level. When it's time to come in, that ice time is, and now even more so when we get back to things, I feel like there's going to be a hunger level. I feel like there's going to be a feeding frenzy on when the switch goes on. Everyone's going to get back to the ice. They want to make sure they're ready skills wise. They want to make sure they're ready mentally and physically ready. But then once they get on the ice, guys, they're going to be going nuts, in a team setting. So that's going to be up to every coach to control that aspect and point of view because of their aspiration. So if you want to become a player, you got to start acting like an actual player. And we can send the messages, or you can have your team mission statements in the way you want them to be. Start sending them out now. This is good timing to get, hey, when we get back to the ice surface, here's a couple of lines of things that my expectations are going to be, just to be ready to take advantage of the ice time, number one. Number two, I think everyone's seen I don't think I have it available to share my screen, and I'll do it at another time, but I'm pretty sure everyone here has seen what the percentages are of players that actually make it to the NHL. That doesn't mean that we can't take away anyone's dream, because we're here to provide as much information, and our jobs as people at any level, even in the NHL, is to improve our team, our players, the individuals. If we improve them in small increments, then we're going to improve as a team, as players, as individual coaches and skills coaches throughout. But I also let players know that, hey, there's 40 professional hockey leagues around the world that will employ a player to play, whether it's making $500 a week or whatever. I know I tier players' successes through dollar value. And one of the things, you can talk about a first line guy, second line guy, third line guy, and you can send these messages to your players. I worked with a coach a couple of months ago, and he's like, I don't have a first, second, or third line. I just have players. I just give them all, like the level of what you do things at. It's okay to talk about who's a better player for whatever reason that you give them and the role that you give them. It's okay to do that. You have a first line, second line, third, fourth line in some cases, but it's also important to let players know that everyone's a piece of the puzzle, and just because they're going out way down the bench doesn't mean that they can't do something to help. So I'm going across the I'm not crossing any lines where it comes to asking you guys to change any coaching styles or anything like that. But one of the things that we can do is let people know what their worth is, no matter when they step on the ice or if they do or not in certain situations, if that makes sense. So that's really good. And one of the coaches is sending a suggestion where when you get some video analysis done, providing feedback, from players shooting at home. And what I had written down here is I was going to give you guys some tips on what you can ask your players to do on the shooting side of things. But it's also important that these players understand that they're part of your team, whether you've prepared for a season that you can't play in or not. One of the things that I wrote down here is you can do a Zoom session or do an online meet and challenge your players to come up with their own drill, a drill that you could let them present, or you can present and say, hey, this is from one of our, this is an example, this is from one of our defensemen or one of our defensemen. And oh, guess what? Well, you can see the defensemen in this drill are shooting a lot. It gives them the opportunity, or this is from our goalie, and the goalie doesn't want any cross ice crease passes with no defenseman in front of them. Stuff like that, where they can design a drill and then you can implement it when you finally do get back to the ice and say, this is so-and-so's drill, we're doing this one next. So let's apply this drill. And that might get their minds to think about the X's and the O's, and drawing things out like, when you draw a dotted line, which means pass, and you draw a straight line, which means skate without a puck, the shooting one, which is my favorite, the shooting symbol, stuff like that. Get them to draw things out and get interactive, and that'll get their mind set on where the rink is, and, stuff like that. You can send them templates of rinks or whatever, and they can do stuff like that. That's that would be a good suggestion. And the funny thing is Saunders is saying, yeah, the own drill idea is fantastic. My son's a goalie, and we do that on the outdoor rink, and that's another thing, guys. Having an outdoor facility somewhere. It's funny, I was driving down the road the other day that I've taken for 30 years of my life, and it's a certain road here in Ontario, and it's been built up ever since. It's gone from a 2-lane road to like 4 lanes, 2 lanes going each way. But on the side, you see where there's a guardrail, and there's a big hill, and there's a big pond down there. And I'm like, you know what? 25 years ago, as a kid or whatever, well, probably a lot longer than that, but I don't even know how old I am right now. But I'm looking down there going, holy crap, I was skating on that pond when I was a kid. And it's still sitting there and no one's on it right now. So what's someone going to do? You pull your car over on the shoulder and run down the hill and put, you get your ass wet from putting your fucking skates on because you want to jump on that pond just to get out there on the outdoor rink. And then you can work on stuff and have fun. One of the key things is it's unbelievable how much I'm hearing this word fun now. The fun factor in the past few years, and this is my personal opinion, and I, I'm like an anomaly at the NHL level. I don't come in there all serious, and which we should be, but I come in there because hockey is fun. And ever since this analytical stuff started 4 or 5 years ago, and it's getting analytics is taking over, and we need to have an evolution of getting back to the way things were done in the past. It doesn't mean analytics isn't effective, but since that started, the fun factor of the game is starting to leave, because people are saying that, well, hey, you know what? Tonight we're playing against Tampa Bay Lightning, and here's all their tendencies, coach. You get put down that when the puck's in this certain quadrant of the O zone, or when you're in D zone coverage, player A is probably going to do this. Well, I call bullshit, because you can get put into any situation. It can be identical, but I have all the options I want to be able to do something when I need to. So players will change their minds. And with you coaches at the younger age levels, who that sometimes your players, every time that player Johnny A gets the puck, he wants to take a fucking slap shot, because he's going to take a slap shot every single time. Well, you know what? Let him take a slap shot, but just give him a suggestion that maybe he can use something different next time that he gets into that situation. We want to make our players unpredictable. We don't want people to know exactly what each other's going to be doing. And our thought processes and our job as coaches is to give them the options they need. But then I'm going to go out on a limb here. Sorry to talk your ears off, but I'm going to go on a limb here. Then we make suggestions as coaches, we give them options, and then all of a sudden they choose the wrong decision in a situation, and all of a sudden we've lost possession of the puck. And then that player comes back, and you give him a little bit of a scolding because of the choice that he made. And that brings me back to how you deliver when you recognize an issue that's been made or a mistake that needs to be fixed, whether it was a tendency one or a personal choice. So as coaches, one of the things we can do, I wrote that down here as well, is have a thought process training exercise. You know, like when you design a drill and you know we have like single threat, dual threat, you know, triple threat, quad threat, quint threat opportunities and certain kinds of things that we're doing. If you give the players what the options are and have them relay to you in the situation what they think that they should do, then you can give them other options or have them give them their go-to. Here's my comfort feeling when I'm under stress, when players get stressed, when players are under pressure, they go to comfort. They revert to what's comfortable in a situation that they're in, whether it's an individual skill or whether it's a position or a spot they need to be. Once there's stress created, then you can have them change their mind or give them options. So here's what I'm going to do, coach. Well, hey, that's a great idea, but you can also do this, this, and this. You know, that's very important stuff. Very important. So, yeah, Pritch, that's yeah, it's sandalwood. Right down there. You know what I'm talking about. So we have here Locker, Shane Locke is saying, hey, Locker, how's you going, man? He's saying we had a challenge of his team to build outdoor rinks at their homes. You know, 30 players on his high school team, and they've safely built 15 outdoor rinks in 6 weeks. Holy fuck, that's awesome. You know, like, that's a great suggestion. You know, easier said than done sometimes, you know, with what you want to do. But, you know, like in our old days when we were growing up, hose, water, grass, you know, just get it going out there, and then hopefully your basement doesn't leak and when the springtime comes. But there's all that too here. Another one here from Scott Jacqueline. How's it going, buddy? Thanks for being here. Good resource. So I'm not sure if everyone knows, but the NHLCA Coaching Association has a weekly coaching video seminar. This covers a lot of information, and they started it last season. All the seminars are saved in a library so you can watch it. There's a great suggestion to and then Changzi's asking, maybe you can put out, oh, these guys are communicating anyways. It's good. How to access it, sign up by email. You know, everything's got to be signed up for nowadays, fellas. But I highly recommend getting as much information as you can from everybody out there. It's important to me that messages are being sent, and these are just suggestive things on working on certain things, such as sending information to your team, gaining information for yourself, making correctives in some of the things that you do, and modifying everything that you learn. You know, and one guy said this thing to me one time, a coach I got an opportunity to sit down with one time, a very, very high-end coach. And I'm like, how as a coach, you know, coaches have a lot of different responsibilities, and the one that the parent and the fan sees is how you run a practice and how you coach from the bench. So, you know, there's the chess players that are out there that, you know, have the ability to make changes when they want to build off of how you read the other team's play, whether it's from video or in-game adjustments or anything like that. And the other thing is running an effective practice to prepare for your next game. So this coach that I sat down with, you know, I was like, how were you so successful, you know, and have such a reputation of being a great bench coach and a great practice coach? And how did you get all that information that you wanted to into your, how'd you make them believe? Like, so here's his answer. His answer is like, hey, Turkey, pretty simple. Everywhere I go, no matter where I was in the world, didn't matter what the situation was, if I wasn't at home and I was in a hotel or I stayed in a suite or wherever I was, I always made a little note on a sticky note and I wrote on it, what am I going to learn from today? What am I going to learn today and from who? Like, so who's going to teach me something today? And he'd stick it on the door just before he'd go out. So it'd be in his mind every time he'd go somewhere, and have an open mind to learn something new, something different, or observe something that he shouldn't do, like it's when I'll walk into a rink as a development coach and I'll see a team on the ice and I'll see the whole team in one corner of the ice. And this is a suggestion when you guys get a chance to get back to the ice. And then that one player will go and they'll start doing the circles. You guys know the crossover, doing the circles all the way down the ice, circles, and that player will end up. And once that player goes past, then the next player can go, and then so they do it one by one. And unless you have a purpose on observing what and how each player is doing, I make a suggestion to, and everyone's heard this, to try and utilize the whole ice and have things going on at the same time, all the time. No matter what your purpose is, try and utilize the time that you have. And to me, one of the things that is super important, in my opinion, is planning. Having a structured plan, and it doesn't have to be an annual one. It's just got to be one for the moment that you're in. When someone I came across a coach one time who he had his annual plan for the whole season. He knew what the practice days were versus what game days were, and he was ready for the whole year. And he could have went to week 26 and pulled out his practice plan and knew what he was going to do. And I was like, now that is organized. But you get to week 2 and what you did in week 1 is not working, or if you just accepted what you've done has worked, then, as a coach, then that's when you start plateauing. And we want to make sure these things that we're doing now to give you information for your teams, suggestions to help off-ice training is going to hopefully elevate what you're doing as a coach and keep that passion going. And now, anyone have any other suggestions? One of the things before we're getting to the hour point here, I don't want to shut her down because I feel like the information I'm giving is all coming from you guys with some reiteration. And some of the things that I wrote down here is unbelievable. One of the things that I didn't mention, first of all, you guys are covering pretty much everything I wrote down, and I feel grateful to get the information that everyone has come here. And also remember, if something comes to your mind afterwards, I'm going to be doing this again in the future. Just send me an email off that email that you guys received if you have any questions or suggestions on themes to cover, things as a coaching platform kind of thing where we can exchange information again and have people give their suggestions. And I appreciate you guys chiming in and giving your ideas and stuff. But one of the things here that I've written down that I didn't see is your leadership groups on your teams, guys. I'd be, before we kind of wind it down, I'd love to hear from a coach, whether you type it in the chat or put your hand up here. 2 things, and you don't have to answer both. One would be, I said leadership group. So we've gone through in the past, I've seen a lot of different things, what qualities are required for people on your team to become captains, co-captains, assistants, associate captains, whatever what kind of criteria, how do you choose that type of player, number 1? And number 2, do you ever have those leadership guys or players? And sometimes I'm going to throw out there, I know there's a few coaches here that I know that make non-lettered players leadership guys. So they don't have a C or an A on their jersey, but everyone in the room knows that this guy's a leader, but he just doesn't have the ability to maybe discuss things with a official or something of that nature. So I'm going to call Pritch. I'm going to call on you here because we've talked about this in the past. But before, let me know what your thoughts are on leadership and how you pick your captains. But there's one player turned coach here, turned mindfulness guy, Zach Peaser here saying leading by example. And sometimes guys who are saying less are doing more. Great point, Peaser. So Pritch, what are you thinking? Like, what's one of the things that we've talked about this before? Let everybody know your thoughts.
Basically, it's the guys that, I always look at it. Who are you going to put on the ice when you're down by a goal with a minute left, or you're up by a goal with a minute left? Those are typically your leaders.
Yeah.
Because they're going to put the team ahead of their individuals, right?
Yeah, but how can you, I'm going to put you on a spot here. Like, how do you find those guys? Like, how do you choose them?
They're typically going to be your hardest worker in practices, right?
Yeah.
Your guys that are going to work hard and push the other guys on the team, right? They're going to set the pace. It may not be the most skilled guy.
Yeah. That's someone said something the other day. We're just going through a discussion via texting, and talking about certain players and how they sacrifice themselves. That player that, we have this saying where when your players are at the level where body contact is involved, or, you get strategic board play and stuff like that. We have this saying, it used to be the saying for the actual toe drag move. When players would do the toe drag, they'd put that little string out there, and we used to call it, here, kitty, kitty, so there's a string dangling in front of a cat, and then all of a sudden the cat will reach for it, and then you'll take the string away. And that's sacrificing position on puck, position on body. You're sucking in, or you're trying to attract the pressure and the stress to you, and then you're advancing your team in a certain way, whether it's with the puck, whether it's with a changeover or possession change, and that player is sacrificing themselves to do that, but they're not captain material, but that's a good sacrifice. So we were talking about, how do you reward a player, without giving them a letter because they're not qualified for the letter, or you feel they're not ready for it yet, and make them a leader because, or, you're going to give them the notoriety and let everyone know that you recognize that this player is sacrificing. But is, that player will come to you and say, hey, my dad says I should be a captain, or something, you'll get that feedback from parents, and the parent talk and the parent connections and how you deal with them is a whole other, we'll use that as a theme in the next presentation, or the next little roundtable that we do here. But it's important that I feel like dealing with those types of players, letting them know they're leaders without the letter, is still going to help them to maintain or elevate or build their confidence in doing things for their coach and their team. And that pretty much brings us right back to the beginning of things. And I want to bring up what Mars said in staying in contact with the players, letting them know that you're there. You're just there for them, whether you're their coach, you're their skills coach, and a lot of times in the case of a coach or a teacher, a skills coach, no matter what skill it is, we start to build a friendship status along with our teacher and coaching status. There's a relationship that's more than coach and player, or more than teacher and player. And then it comes to the coach or the player, because there's a trust level built up in each other, how you deliver things to them and how you talk to them. And then you start to find that, the words you choose to say to your player, whether it's your son, daughter, or you have a son or daughter on the team, because that's how you've started your coaching career. How you deliver that changes through time because of the relationship that you've built up with a certain player or a fellow coach or something like that, going through your ranks or through your progression of your career and stuff like that. Saunders is saying focus on attitude and work ethic first, and then go to the example with the example of what the players are doing. So thanks for being here, guys. It's a pleasure to see you all. I really appreciate it. Mars, thanks for everything. Pritch, Peaser, all the guys here from around the world. I'm over and out. We'll see you guys later on. Take care, everybody.